I've been lifting naturally for around 5 years now, and I'm going to throw on 2 front shots, one when I was like 14 when I first started lifting and one relatively recently. I'm going to throw up 2 back shots, so you guys pause. So you guys
I'm sorry.
So you guys like actually have like a grasp of the validity and the credibility that I'm speaking from, right? This is all a lived experience. I'm not leading you guys astray, obviously. And I just want what's best for you guys, man. Stay for the video and enjoy. 5 things I wish I knew before I started lifting. This will be almost a complete guide. I'm gonna hit on every single aspect I feel like are crucial to good muscle development. I feel like the first most important thing that I wish I knew before I started lifting was to eat the right foods. When I first started, like, I was a really skinny kid, right? When I first started lifting, I was like 126, and I thought that just eating a bunch of shit would get me big, right? I'd pound down pizzas every night. I would eat like granola bars, junk food, like Chick-fil-A, Burger King. And I thought that like those calories were actually helping me, but in the long run, now looking back on it, after fixing up my diet, that shit was so bad for me. Like, it was bad for my mood, it was bad for my mental health. The things you eat really dictate the way you look. And just recently, like last April, I think, I started being more proactive about like the things I eat and what I put into my body. So now I try to stay like relatively lean. I eat lean meats almost every single meal. So either chicken or tuna, those are good options. I mean, my school serves a lot of pork, which is really suboptimal, but it gets the job done. All right, this is gonna be the first intervention. I did this like initially as a locker room talk, which is probably not the best idea. I just decided to make a whole separate video out of this, to be honest. Because there's just a lot of information here. But I did this all impromptu, so it was off the top of my dome. Looking back on it, editing it right now, I missed one very crucial thing about the diet, and it's always to try to get 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. It's just a very nice rule of thumb. Go over it if you can. Protein's like the fundamental building block for muscle. Yeah, that was a very like key concept that I didn't go over in my locker room talk, and I just wanted to add that in now editing the video, seeing that I missed that. So you actually have to eat good food to look good. You can't just eat a bunch of shit, see the weight on the scale going up and think you're improving or bulking, right? That's just the most pathetic way to do it ever, especially if you're natural. You don't have hormones like altering like the nutrition shuttles in your body. It's just, it's terrible. It's terrible for your insides as well as terrible for your gut health. You want to eat healthy. And obviously it's going to be harder in the beginning to like reconstruct your diet, because obviously before you start lifting you have all these bad habits. That's why you get into lifting, right? To break them. So it's going to be a big adjustment at first, but I promise you it's going to be worth it in the long run. Not dirty bulking and not eating like complete shit to try to see the weight on the scale go up. The second piece of advice that I want to give is to train hard, right? You always want to go into the gym and train the hardest you can. Like, I've had friends, I'm not gonna name their names, but I've had friends who like stayed at the same bench press for years and wonder why they aren't getting better. It's because you aren't pushing yourself, right? Your mind is a tool. Your mind tells your body when to give up. Your body doesn't give up ever before your mind does. And if you can learn to train your mind and get into the mindset of, I'm going to go into the gym and absolutely break my body. Let me get to that point.
Do you want me to stop?
No. Alright, I'm looking over the footage right now, and when I say to train hard and break your body, I don't mean 1 rep maxes. You should always be within the 6 to 12 rep range so that you don't actually get injured. Like, don't get any wrong ideas. Like, I want you to surpass your limits and push past what your mind thinks is your last rep, but I do not want you breaking your body in terms of like doing 1 rep maxes or just testing it. Like, for longevity, when you first start lifting, it is a terrible idea to do 1 rep maxes. I know that your egos will probably not be able to handle that and you guys will end up going for 1 rep maxes anyways, but always remember to stay safe most of the time you train. Like, it's okay to maybe do a 1 rep max like every 3 to 4 weeks, right? But you should not be doing 1 rep maxes every single week. If you do it safely, then you're obviously gonna make more progress than the person next to you, because if you go in there and you give it 90% instead of the person next to you who's giving it like maybe 60%, you're gonna make almost double their gains in less the time. So my second piece of advice would be to train as hard as possible and get into the mentality of wanting to train to break your body. And that goes like on tangent with the third point. And the third point that I want to make is that you have to progressive overload. You cannot just be staying at the same weight over and over again. Say you like want to build chest muscle, right? Once your muscle gets used to a certain stimuli, the body just doesn't want to grow anymore, right? For your muscle to actually grow, you need to break down your muscle. And once your muscle is just used to the threshold of the weight you're using, it's not going to grow anymore. I mean, it might grow a little bit, but at a certain extent, if you're benching 135, like your first like 3 months into lifting, right? And then you check back in 8 months later and you're still doing 135 for your working sets, it's time to reconsider how you're training, because the more weight you use, this is like applicable like to a beginner, intermediate, and even like a slightly advanced lifter. So if you are not increasing the weight progressively on the exercises you're doing, your muscles just aren't going to grow. And that goes tangential with too, because you want to train hard, right? And by training hard, you're training your mind also and training your central nervous system to increase the weight, to tear your muscle fibers further past the stimuli that they know how to handle, right? So say I'm just gonna give you an example real quick. Say you're doing curls, right? And after like a couple weeks, you know you can do 20s for 8 to 12, right? You know you can always hit 20s for your working sets. And then the next week after that, once you know you're comfortable with the weight, bump it up to 25s and see if you can do 8 reps for that. Maybe even 1 or 2 sets, right? Maybe like you did 20s for 4 sets of 8 to 12. Next week, just try to do like 25s for 8 to 10 with like 2 sets and go all out. And eventually, you're gonna be able to train your central nervous system to handle the weight. And you're also gonna train your mind to be more hungry for progress, right? If you are just stuck at a plateau, it's very, very demotivating. And who wants to be stuck at a plateau? Right? Push past your limits, increase the weight, but also do it safely. So that goes, honestly, all these points just connect together. That goes to the fourth point, which is never ever ego lift. When you're first starting out in the gym, man, I know you want to like use the heaviest weight as possible, especially if you have like a relatively large ego. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I first started, I was like literally doing quarter squats, doing like 2 plates, 225, and I thought I was the shit. But you have to realize at a certain point, when you increase the load so much to the point where you're pushing weights that your body just cannot physiologically handle, you're going to get injured. I've gone through so many injuries in the beginning, like a couple years of my lifting career, right? A year in, I actually bulged my disc doing deadlifts. Like, the form was fine, but it was just like I was pushing my body to the point where I knew I couldn't handle the weight, but I'd still do it anyways. Which is just such a suboptimal way of training. My rule of thumb is If you can't get a weight for more than 4 to 6, do not do it. Yep.
Come on.
Yeah. Go. Finish.
Fuck yeah. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
The likelihood of you getting injured gets significantly increased when you do weights that you can't even do reps on, right? It doesn't make sense if you're trying to go for aesthetics to even push the threshold until you're actually very comfortable with the lift. Until you're comfortable with like the movement and you know your body very well, then you can throw in some partials in there, you can like go push past failure. But for now, like if you're just starting off lifting, I would say like your first, second, or even third year, just try to get very, very comfortable with the movements. It's not a race, and the faster you're able to be more comfortable with the movements you're actually doing, the faster you're gonna be able to increase the weight safely. And the fifth and last tip that I have for you guys would be to sleep and take adequate rest. Your body breaks down, right? Your body's a machine. And if the machine gets overused, it's not gonna perform as effectively. I know this is pretty much common sense, but you have to be sleeping at least 8 to 10 hours every night if you're like an average human, right? There's some gene out there where you can like go off 6 hours of sleep and feel normal, but if you're the average human, you want to be getting adequate rest. Like when I sleep less than 8 hours, I can barely function in class. What makes you think that you can go to the gym effectively when you can't even stay awake in your classes, right? It's like the same concept. I mean, sometimes I fall asleep in my lectures because I'm just so understimulated, but that's just another story. The main thing is you want to be able to get rest so that your body can actually repair the tears when you train. I mean, it is impossible to recover without sleep. You have to just reset your body's central nervous system. And this goes directly into like taking adequate rest days, right? If you feel like your body is breaking down, a good test to see whether or not your like body's breaking down is if you squeeze your forearm and that shit just sends like soreness all throughout your body, your CNS is cooked, man. Your CNS is absolutely fried. And when your CNS is fried, the weight you can do goes down, the amount of reps you can do goes down, and the amount of exercises you can do goes down as well. So it's like, why would you not want to take a rest day? I know that you get super excited when you first start off in the gym and you want to go every day, but at a certain point, you have to realize your body's limits, and in order to push effectively on those days that you actually train to maximize muscle growth, you take adequate rest. So those were the 5 things that I feel like are cornerstones in building a fantastic physique if you're natural, right? If you're enhanced, I feel like the diet, like obviously to an extent the diet matters, but the way your nutrients get shown when you're on anabolics is just way different. So if you're natural, follow those 5 steps. I know the majority of the people watching are natural, right? Like, that's the reason why I don't want to go on steroids, because I want to be relatable to the general population. If I'm taking shit to enhance my performance to such a degree that I'm just pushing past physiological levels, I'm not even relatable anymore. I'm not even human anymore, bro. When I inject that shit oil on my fucking veins, I'm not even human anymore. I'm literally like a lab test. So like, I'm trying to make these things like as applicable as possible to the common viewer, right? The common lifter is not going to take anabolic steroids ever in their life. Like, it's just not in the cards, right? You either don't have access to good like medical resources, or you just don't know what you're doing. So better just to not try it at all. I feel like a big factor in how I was able to grow so much was because I was going through puberty, right? When you go through puberty, your body just releases a shit ton of hormones, and you can use them to your advantage. To be honest, I was eating like shit for the first like 4.5 years of lifting, but I still made progress. Could I have made more progress? Yes, but I feel like puberty is a very, very, very crucial factor for like all these incredible transformations that you're seeing on social media, because when your body is able to release these hormones at like an exponential rate, especially when you're growing, your body's quite literally primed to lift. Also, going off that topic, Like, I don't know where the myth that like lifting stunts your growth is from, but it's not true. I was 13 freshman year because I skipped a grade, but I think like 5'5" or like 5'5", and now I'm 5'11". So you're gonna grow, man. Your growth plates aren't just gonna fucking like. And I also bulged a disc. I quite literally bulged a disc, and I still grew 6 inches. So I don't know where that myth that like lifting stunts growth came from, but that is completely false. Do not listen to that. Yeah, there's not much else to it. Like, making progress in the gym is just all about repetition, dedication, and the amount of effort that you actually put in to achieve the results that you want. So it's pretty simple at the end of the day. There's no cheat code. There's nothing you can do. Like, there's supplements you can take, like creatine, but it's like I take creatine in my creatine's in my pre, so I take that. I take vitamin B12 because my mom gave me it. I take vitamin D because my mom gave me it. I don't even know what those things do, to be honest. And then I take melatonin to sleep. So those are like the only supplements I take. I don't even take protein powder. I just drink the muscle milks that they have at school here. But it's very simple, man. Those are the 5 things that I wish I knew before I started lifting. And even though it might seem like common sense to me now, it might not be common sense to all of you guys. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that little like spiel of things that I created to help you guys maximize your gains. And yeah, I mean, if you guys just came to the video to see my advice because of the thumbnail and the title, then just consider subscribing, because man, I feel like I can be a beacon of good influence and relatability to a lot of young men out there. So if you guys liked it, subscribe, like, comment. That's about it.